Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back. Today I will be continuing the long journey that is this Chaos Knight Wardog. He's looking pretty good right now, but I'm about to start doing some weathering, mostly so that once I'm done with all the weathering, I'll be able to start putting pieces on, and we can get this this guy can start looking finished. All right. Just need to grab a few things here. Get my palette ready. Okay. So we're going to be starting off with the reddish brown rust on all of the silver metallics. And we're going to be starting with just like an all-over general coating. Because of the long drying time of these weathering mediums and such, I will likely have to do multiple days. So this is the test subject that I did on stream, so you can see what it's gonna look like essentially. And then the same kind of thing for the bluish green rust that goes on copper. And to start, for the color, I'm going to be using Doombolt Brown. This is just a nice reddish brown that works pretty well for rust. Okay. Now we just slap it on. I'll be starting with the feet here. And because it has a fairly long drying time, you can kind of slap it on a whole area before coming at it and rubbing it off. This is a reductive style of painting. So we'll be slapping it on and then removing it. And you can see by doing this, I can keep the silver metallic in the raised areas, and I only get the rust in the recesses. So in general, we're going for more of a like lightly rusted look. So keeping the rust in the recesses, in places where probably water has pooled and started the rusting process. And we'll be doing this in multiple stages. So this right here is the, our first application of rust. We'll be going like more like brighter, so like adding more orange in, and adding more orange in and reducing the area as we go. But it'll probably be on, I'll have to do them on different days because this does take quite a bit to dry. Mix up some more here. Hey, what's up? How's it going? Thank you for the follow, Kamak190. I appreciate it. For those of you who just joined, I'm just doing a bit of rust effect on my Wardog here. Yeah. I'm using the weathering medium from Monument Hobbies, and it's working pretty well for me. So it's pretty good. Yeah, I like how it turns out. So, but this is a Wardog that I'm painting up for a painting competition, and I'm getting I probably have a week left before I'm done with him. Yeah, I've got, most of the pieces are done, but I gotta do weathering and stuff before I like really attach them. And looks great. I like the gradient on the blue parts. Yeah, I really like doing these nice smooth gradients on the especially on these knights that have such big flat panels. Like it makes it a little more interesting, in my opinion. Oops. Are you guys working on anything in the moment? You got anything on your workbenches? Drukari Braider, nice. Yeah, those things are cool. You ever wanted a space pirate ship? Easy. Nothing at all? I'm new in 40K? Nice, nice. Has there been anything that's been catching your eye? Anything you wanna get started on? Yeah, I almost have it done. Now I just have 6 dudes that hang on there. Yeah. Gotta paint up the crew. I really like the lore, and I'll probably do some paintings a day, but I don't have time for this yet. Yeah. Really like the story of the Blood Angels. Blood Angels are very cool. They it's a very 40K army. It fits well in the setting. Thank you for the follow, David. I appreciate it. Well, welcome to the hobby, and there's lots of exciting stuff going on in the hobby at the moment. So we just had a reveal show that showed off a whole new army that's being added to the tabletop, which is awesome. People bitch about the new Sangwook Guard and such. I think they're all right as far as Space Marines go. Yeah, I understand where they're coming from though, because like the old Sanguinary Guard were so like ornate, and then the new ones are just not. And you're like you know, like part of their identity was how ornate their armor was, and Games Workshop kind of took that away, which is I get how that's disappointing to people. I don't have many opinions on it because I didn't collect Blood Angels, so I'm kind of like an outsider looking in, but I see where they're coming from. They had a few releases like that with like the Kodiaz model that they released. That one was also like very very simplistic in its design, I think. It wasn't very ornate. Didn't have a whole lot of intricate details. If they had wings and stuff, people would complain they are too detail heavy. People always find something to complain about. That is true. That you will never make everyone happy. As for me, I would love to paint like I love painting wings. So like I'm always in favor of more wings. Do I play 40K? I have not played 40K. I haven't played 10th edition yet. I played 9th edition, I just haven't had a chance to get out and play for a while. I've been playing Kill Team a lot recently because it's just easier to fit in a game of Kill Team than it is to fit in, you know, a full game of 40k. But I'm currently building up a I'm building up a Chaos Knights army, and I'm also starting a Eldari army. So I'm hoping to get some games of 40k in at some point. I just gotta find the time, you know? Dude, I'd love to play Kill Team. Yeah, Kill Team's a lot of fun. I can highly recommend Kill Team. I know a lot of people are complaining about the balance and whatever. But I think the game's fun from a casual standpoint. Me and my friends that I play with are not hyper competitive, so we don't see any of the problems that like the top Kill Team players are complaining about. What's my favorite Kill Team? Oh yeah, they moved the Knights Codex. Yeah, they they thought we wouldn't notice, but we did. How they just they announced that the Knights Codex was gonna be like after the Eldari, and then they were like, yeah, by the JK, lol, not gonna happen. And it's not even that they like moved it. It's like now not on the schedule, right? Like they announced like what the next like 7 armies that they're gonna be doing, and Knights is not one of them. So it's like wait, it went from like one of the next 3 codexes to it's not even on the schedule anymore. What's my favorite Kill Team? My favorite Kill Team is the Eldari Corsairs at the moment. I think they're really cool. Aesthetically, they play really nicely. They have that like glass cannon play style, where you can just kind of send a model in and blow something up, but then you've likely that guy will probably die. Like it'll get traded out. So it's you know a big trading game where you have to be careful with how you commit your pieces because the Eldari are fairly fragile, so they will not survive many hits. But in terms of damage, they do all the damage. They also have some really cool tricks, like they have a model with like a warp spider generator, and he can like teleport, do short range teleports and stuff, which is really cool. So that rust is fire. Thank you. I've been working on trying to figure out a good process for rust for a while, and I think I've finally landed on one that I'm like satisfied with. So I'm glad you all think it looks good too, because I think it looks good. So what advice will you give a beginner in the world of 40k? Advice. I would say start slow. It is a bit shiny, but not too much. Yeah, so like I'll show you the kind of the end result. It'll go through Thin your paints? Yeah. Yeah, thinning your paints is super important. I'll talk a little more on it later, but this is a kind of a test that I did. So the goal is to make it be like lightly rusted, but then to also add like chipping and scratches and stuff that make the metal look worn. And so it will still be fairly shiny, but you'll definitely see the rust starting to accumulate, especially in the recesses, where, you know, water would generally pool. If I were to imagine that this is a real life machine, it seems to be a running joke in the and there is a painter that like coined the term too thin coats, and it's like yeah, and sadly it's a product of like the way companies like Games Workshop sell their paints. Like if they could just sell paints that were the correct consistency, it wouldn't be such a problem. But sadly, the paints are too thick out of the bottle, and like you have to, like, counterintuitively, you have to adjust the consistency of the paints before you apply them to the model, like universally, which is and it's a little weird to me. But one company that is, I think, better is Monument Hobbies. Their Pro Acryl range tends to be better straight out of the bottle. Like you don't need to thin it as much. So that might be something that you look into or try. I think also, like, I think Pro Acryl is cheaper, like ounceage of paint per dollar kind of thing. So I think you get a little more with your money if you buy that instead of like Citadel paints or like Vallejo paints, or, you know, whatever other brand you're looking at. Start slow, don't buy too much. Yeah, it is really easy to get. And you know, another thing with, you know, gaming companies where they want you to buy all their models, so it's really easy for you to just go in and buy, like, say you're interested in the game and you're like, all right, I'll buy a full 2,000 point army. It gets really overwhelming really fast to and then you end up with just like piles of unpainted minis that stare at you judgingly. Yeah, it is pretty hard to get into, and that's why games like skirmish games like Kill Team are, and there's one for the fantasy setting. if you're also interested in that, called Warcry, that are a little bit easier to get into because you need to, the models you need to play are like 10 models. So it's much easier to assemble, paint, and start playing a game like Kill Team than it is to play a game like 40K. They have started to fix that with the introduction of games like Combat Patrol, and Spearhead is the Age of Sigmar version, where you just buy a box set, and the name of the box set is Combat Patrol. So like, you know that what you're buying is, you know, tied to the game, and all the models in the box are all the models that you need to play. And it's they typically have a little bit of a different rule set than normal 40K or Age of Sigmar because it is on a smaller scale. So it's been specifically balanced to be played at that army size. The new Kill Team has solo rules? Yeah, it does, which is, I think, a very interesting concept. I haven't played the solo game yet, but I think it's really cool. And I've heard good things about it. Like, I've heard it's pretty good. There's also co-op Kill Team, which is like, you know, you and your friend face off against, you know, the game, essentially. Which is also cool. There's not much of a 40K community where you live. Yeah, that's tough too. But yeah, I mean, I do mostly, I do a lot of hobbying as well, and I have a great time with it. So you definitely don't need to play the game to get something out of the hobby. I missed the critical part called a friend interested in playing Warhammer. Oof. Yeah, that's tough. It can be hard to find people sometimes. You know, part of the reason I haven't played 40k in a while, I just don't have anyone to play with. People that I can get to play Kill Team, much easier. Mostly because I bought Kill Team, so like I have like 6 or so Kill Teams that I bought and painted up, and so it's really easy to get a friend to play with me because I'm like, hey, I'll provide the models and everything. Like, you just gotta play the game with me. Yeah, I know some people play Warhammer on like now I'm blanking on the name. It's a virtual tabletop anyway. But I don't think that's as fun personally. You have 7 kill teams, the high storm rules, dice, mission cards, everything. Yep. That's why I bought I bought High Storm as well, because it's just a great way to get everything you need to play. And then yeah, it's really easy. It's a lot easier to convince someone to play when you're like, I have everything. You don't need to bring anything. You just need to come over here and play. And the juicy Death Guard kill team. Yeah, that Death Guard kill team looked really cool. But I was in the process of painting like 4 kill teams when that came out, and I was like, I can't justify buying this. I should I'll just wait. I mustered all of my self-control for the year, and I didn't buy that starter set. I think I, at this point, need a new sponge. I like the song. Good, yeah. So yeah, this playlist that I found is like lo-fi versions of like a lot of game soundtracks and stuff. So I think it's a nice playlist. Pretty chill. Do you need the tokens to play? No, you don't. Most of the tokens are to denote things like, you know, like which operatives have gone, and mostly you can take notes on like a piece of paper or use other tokens. Like the most important tokens are the objective markers, but again, those are, I think they're 40 mil, but I mean, you can find that in the rules. So like you just need like a 40 millimeter circle, and so a lot of the tokens will say, like, if the tokens have like a use in game, usually you can find what size they are and proxy them if you don't have them, or and if they don't have like an impact on the gameplay, then you generally don't need them. You know, I know a lot of people just take notes on like a piece of paper where you're like, you know, it's my turn, this operative is in conceal mode, and these are the operatives that have gone so far. What is Kill Team? Is it like Deathwatch? So, Kill Team is a game mode that Games Workshop put out, where it's on a smaller game board, and you only have like 10 models, and essentially you're like two special ops kill team units that are fighting for control over like secret secret info, or you're like trying to set up beacons, but it's for, they have kill teams for most of the factions, so you're not like locked into any faction in particular. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I would watch, if you're really interested in it, I would watch there's some videos on YouTube that you can watch of people explaining like how the game goes and stuff. It's also a lot more interactive than 40K is, because instead of having one person move all of their units on their turn, and then you take a turn and you move all of your models, it's alternating interactions. Sorry, I'm like a baby, and that's fine. Yeah, I love getting new people into the hobby. It makes the hobby more interesting the more people we have. So I'm more than happy to sit here and explain things to you. I'm gonna be sitting here applying Rust for the next 2 hours anyway. So. But yeah, it's alternating interactions. So it's like I move one of my models and do some stuff with it, and then the opponent moves their one of their models. So it's a lot more back and forth that goes on. It's pretty fun. I enjoy it and can recommend. We're finally getting towards the end of the steel iron type rust. We're running out of silver metallic. Soon we can move on to the copper metallic and do the same process, but it'll be a lot faster, because there's just a lot less there's a lot less of the copper metallics on the model. So yeah, what will I do next? Yeah, so the next step is to do this same kind of process, but for the copper bits. So all of the armor trim is actually going to be gold. I just base coated it in this dark copper so that I have some like so to explain this better, when you're painting miniatures, generally you want to start at a darker color and layer your way up. So for the gold trim, I started with, you know, a more copper color, and then I will build up to, you know, like a brighter gold. And so I kind of just base coated both the stuff that will be a copper color and the gold trim in the same color. It's also just easier, right? I don't have to switch paints as much. But the stuff that will actually be copper, I will be doing this like the bluish green rust that, you know, that copper tends to do. So you can see this is my, you know, my test model again that I was testing this rust effect on. So you can see this like the bluish green rust in the recesses. Whoops. After that, I haven't quite decided what I'm gonna do next. I might start working on the gold trim. That's probably a good place to go to next. Just have to be kind of careful around here because I don't want to get any of this on any of the freehand that I did, because I spent a lot of time on these arrows and the eye. Don't want to mess any of that up. But one of the nice things that'll happen once I finish all this rusting is I can start finally attaching all the pieces. So I'm doing something called subassembly, which is where you don't fully build the model before painting it. And mostly it just helps. It helps you paint things easier. You have easier access to stuff. So, for example, this Wardog has this like a rocket launcher that goes on top that I've left off to paint a little bit easier. And then also there's like a vulture that sits on the back. You can see this is gray plastic. I haven't even begun to paint this. But so, you know, once I kind of finish the rust effects and whatever, I'll be able to start attaching these pieces, and it'll start to look like a finished model, which I'm really excited about because I've been painting this. This is like week 3 or 4 that I've been painting this model. Mostly it's taking so long because I'm painting it up for a competition. It takes a lot longer. It usually doesn't take this long to, oh god. I put rust directly on the eyeball. It usually doesn't take this long, but I'm taking a lot of extra time to get things looking really nice. All right. Looking pretty rusty. How much time to build and paint this one? I haven't really been keeping track, but let me see if I can come up with like an estimate. So, for reference, this model that I painted up here, it's just another war dog. But it's one that I painted up for like my army, not for a competition, so it's generally less ornate, and I didn't take as much time. The goal was to get him painted, not have him be immaculate. And so this guy took, I'd say, probably 2 weeks to do, and I work like maybe 8 hours a week, I'll say, so like 16 hours in total probably for this guy, which is not bad. But these are pretty large models, so I can grab like I'll grab a Space Marine for reference. Like yeah, size comparison. A beautiful painting for the Emperor. Yeah. Yeah, so just like size comparison, these war dogs are pretty large, so getting one painted is a very, very long process compared to other models. Hold on one moment. Sorry about that. I went to grab my water and instead spilled it all over my desk. All right. As for this guy, I've been painting him for about 4 weeks at this point, like building and painting. It'll probably take me another one to finish it. So a little over twice as long as the other guy. But I think also it's over twice as good. So, like, we take that. think my next faction lore will be Adeptus Mechanicus. Yeah, it's a very interesting faction that really showcases like the dystopian nature of the 40K world, where instead of like scientists and advancing technologically, they live in a world where they have priests that pray to the machines to get them to work. Which is like really funny. Like they pray with techno in their head. Yeah. Yeah, who knows what's really going on. But I mean, the stuff seems to work, so I guess they got, there's I guess something to it, but it is pretty funny. So yeah, collab between 40K and Cyberpunk. Yeah, they're very similar. Adeptus Mechanicus with Cyber Psycho. Yeah, that'd be cool. All right. I think I've gotten most of it done on the main body. Now I was like, oh, I'll move on to like the copper rust and whatever, but completely forgetting about the weapons that I also have to do. One of the downfalls of painting and subassembly is it's kind of easy to forget about the things that aren't attached to the model. Like, oops. Thought I was done, but not quite. It's okay. It'll give the paint a little bit of time to dry on the main model. Although speaking of the AdMech, I think they just recently got a new model. Like the it's like a giant walker looking thing, which is pretty hype. Yeah, so there are quite a few ways to paint. This technique is generally works with oil paints. Now I'm not using oil paints, but this like subtractive method tends to be tends to go with oil paints. The spray, I think you're talking about an airbrush, and airbrushes are very nice. I use an airbrush a lot, but they're definitely not necessary. Probably the easiest way to especially learn how to paint is just to use a brush, and just layer on the paint, because like an airbrush is the same idea as layering up with a paintbrush. It's just using a different tool. So once you understand how to paint with a paintbrush, you know, layering up colors, you know, using something like an airbrush, it will be more intuitive because you've already essentially done it. Another thing is, yeah, I think you will use a brush, it's easier. I agree. So like the gradients on the shoulder pads, I got those using an airbrush. But then, you know, painting the trim and all the details, done with a brush. So I do both. You can get a lot more precise with a brush, right? Like painting with an airbrush, it'll apply the paint in like a circle all the time, right? And so getting, you know, applying paint to just this trim without getting on the shoulder pad itself, not very easy with an airbrush. So I would definitely recommend learning to paint with a paintbrush, using, you know, normal acrylic paints. That tends to be the easiest way to, especially to start out. And then, you know, if you want to expand into other areas, you can do that. Because there are definitely benefits to using something like an airbrush, or using oil paints, or using, you know, different methods. But definitely not something you have to worry about when you're just starting out. All right. Now we're gonna start looking at the copper rust. So this time I'll be using this like bluish green color. We're gonna be applying it to all of the copper components. I really like that shiny effect on the rust. Yeah, I like it too. I think it looks really nice. All right. Let's see here. So now we're gonna be applying this onto these pipes in the same kind of way. We're gonna apply it. And then we're gonna remove it from the raised areas so that we still have some shiny metallics poking through, but you can see the rust in the recesses. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm not sure what to expect because I'm fairly new to competition painting. I've won a few at like my local game store, but there weren't that many competitors, and it wasn't that competitive. So this one that I'm entering in has about 50 people competing in it. So I think this will be a nice next step up. And yeah, hopefully I can win. Because I think the model looks good, but I might be a little biased, especially after spending 4 or 5 weeks on this model. That's not bad at all. 50 people. Yeah, yeah. It's still fairly small, but it's definitely much bigger. Like it's like twice as many people as were competing in, the previous ones I entered in. So, it's like a nice step up. How much did this model cost? So they seem pretty good to be cheap. Yeah, they're definitely not cheap. This model in particular, it came in a pack of 2, so there were two Wardogs, and I believe I spent like $90 on it. So I don't know what country you live in, but yeah, I spent around $90 US, so on this. So yeah, the price might be a little in France, sadly. Oh no. So yeah, it might be a little different. I'm not sure. So I think also models in the US are a little more expensive because they have to be shipped here from the UK. So I'm not sure how that affects the price as well, but yeah, fairly expensive. So. But yeah, I think it's worth it just based on the quality of the models. So, obviously I'm still buying them. In France, it will cost less. Yeah. Sorry, these cylinders are kind of, I have to flip the model all over the place to get all around these, like these cylinders. Oops. I'm always thinking that Deathwatch armor should be hard to paint because of the script on the shoulder. Am I wrong? Yeah. So, one thing that makes it like, so there's a few techniques that can make it a lot easier. Well, one is just a paint, a type of paint, and the other is a technique. Trying to think if I have anything that I can kind of demo on, but the first thing is I'll use this. So this is called a texture palette. You can see there's some there's like a bunch of texture on it, and this is actually used for dry brushing. Dry brushing is a technique where you use like a thicker brush. So, you know, something like this, and you get some paint on your brush. I'll use like pink here, so that it'll really stand out on the palette. Right? Get it all up in the brush, and then you wipe off most of it so that when you apply it, it only catches the raised areas. And so you can still see the silver underneath. And so this is a technique that makes painting like the Death Watch armor with like the script and stuff a lot easier. Because the paint doesn't flow as much into the recesses, and it'll just hit the tops. Another thing that you can use are called washes, and so I'll get out the favorite, which is Nuln Oil here. They're called shade paints. And what they do is they do the opposite. So they flow into the recesses and leave the raised areas. So with this, you can apply it. It'll flow into all the recesses and darken them to give you that the definition that you're looking for on that like script. So between dry brushing, which you can use to highlight the raised areas, and using washes, which you can use to shade the recesses, it can be fairly easy to do. Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to help. So yeah, a lot of people use Nuln Oil because it is generally applicable. Like, it doesn't really matter what color you're applying the Nuln Oil to, because it's just black, right? It's like, or black or dark gray. So it's generally applicable to just about every situation where you're just applying black into the recesses to give you a little more definition on your model. Should be useful to make some effects too, like dusty. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, dry brushing is very useful, and there's a lot of different ways to do it. So it's a good one to learn and a good one to get good at. Because yeah, it's applicable in a lot of different situations. All right. So that's looking pretty good for the copper rust. And this is just the first layer. So we'll be kind of coming in and applying additional rust, but you know, in a more. Are you sure I've not forgotten something? Yeah, I'm sure. Most of the rest of the stuff that's like copper colored, I'll actually be painting gold. So it'll be, yeah, it'll be gold instead of copper. Yeah. So yeah, and I think I'm gonna start doing it now. So generally, as the rust becomes more advanced, it kind of goes into like brighter colors. And so I'm gonna start applying some brighter blues and mixing in some more green to get some more advanced rust in specific areas. This will also add some more dimensionality to our model. It'll make it look better, more interesting. Yeah, if you look at on Twitch, there should be a schedule that shows when I stream, and it should automatically convert it to your time zone. So I think that would be the best place to look, because I can tell you. I want to know how the competition will go. Yeah, so the competition is the weekend of February 14th to the 16th. So I still have quite a bit of time. I made sure to get this started early so that I don't run out of time. But yeah. There should be a schedule on Twitch that you should be able to look at. Hello, Inatic. How's it going? So I have some advice for you priming minis in... Oh, yeah. That's really tough. I don't have a lot for you there. I've started priming with my airbrush, and I can do that indoors because the airbrush paint is not as toxic as, or it isn't toxic like the rattle cans. But I also had a lot of trouble priming minis outside in the cold. Even with black primer, it just sometimes gets so cold that it just cracks, which is not fun. I know some people say that if you do it fast enough, it won't crack. So like if you have both the minis and the primer inside, you step outside, prime them, leave them outside for like 3 to 4 minutes, and then bring them in. They don't crack because they weren't outside long enough. Of course, that depends on how cold we're talking, right? Where I am, I think it's currently -6 degrees. I just think I would wait if it's like -6 degrees. Sometimes the outside environment wins, you know? Like, not much you can do about that. And when you bring them in after only like 3 to 4 minutes, generally it's like you have like a box that you bring them out in, so you don't have to. You're not touching the minis because the primer still hasn't set yet. So yeah, make sure you don't like touch the minis in that time frame. But and they'll probably smell pretty bad, as primer does. But I think it should reduce the cracking that you see. All right, these copper bits are starting to look like some well rusted bits of copper, which is nice. I'm loving it. Oops. We see the difference? Yeah. It's a bit of a process, but I think it's worth it. Especially since you can see, like, let's see here, on this model here, where I didn't do any rusting on that, compared to the one I did here. You can see there's quite a bit of rust. It's a bit more interesting to look at. While I think the shiny copper has its place, I think I like the rusted look a bit better for this model. I'm actually going to take a bit of the sponge. Get some of that initial blue paint and come into some of these areas where I think the initial coating didn't work as well. The reason I'm using like a sponge like this is to is to get a more random application of the paint. When you're using just like a regular paintbrush, it can get, you don't always get as random of an application. Rust doesn't tend to follow any like much rhyme or reason. It's kind of just where moisture tends to accumulate. So while I can do it in the recesses and such, on flat surfaces, it's harder to get a realistic looking rust effect when you're using a regular brush. It's better with the shiny copper. And then after we have the random kind of pattern, we can come in with a brush and apply our quote-unquote highlights to some of the places. Uh-oh. Remove some of that. Right. Now I'm probably, after this, I will probably do a similar process for the reddish brown rust on the silver metallics, where I go in and I apply some more orange colors. So for example, like our color range will look something like this, where we're going from, you know, the reddish brown that we started with to more of an orange brown to, like, in the really rusted spots we have this like bright orange color that we can apply. But I am getting towards the end of my stream here, so I think I'm gonna end it here. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be streaming again next week. Yeah, if you look at the schedule, Thursday through Sunday, I will likely, fingers crossed, hopefully, be finishing this model next week during the streams. So, yeah, hopefully I see you all then. In the meantime, I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all next time. Bye!